In this video, I want to talk about, is it autistic burnout or CPTSD, the critical difference in adult diagnosis. Now, if you're an adult who feels exhausted, emotionally shut down, overwhelmed by life, and you've been told, it's probably trauma, or maybe it's autism, then this video is for you. Because here's the truth. Autistic burnout and complex PTSD can look almost identical on the surface. And when they're confused or misdiagnosed, the support you receive can actually make things worse instead of better. So today, we're going to slow this down and talk about what overlaps, what's different, and why the distinction matters more than most people realize. So, let's get started. Let's start with why this confusion happens so often, especially in adults. Both autistic burnout and CPTSD can involve chronic exhaustion, emotional numbness or shutdown, heightened sensitivity to noise, light, or people, difficulty concentrating or making decisions, loss of skills you used to have, social withdrawal, and a sense of, I can't do life the way I used to. Now, from the outside, and sometimes even from the inside, they feel the same. And clinicians often see an overwhelmed adult and assume, well, if there's a trauma history, then it must be PTSD, or if there's sensory sensitivity, it must be autism. But overlap does not mean equivalence. And treating one as the other can quietly deepen suffering. Okay, so now let's talk about what autistic burnout actually is. Autistic burnout is not depression, it's not laziness, and it's not failure to cope. Autistic burnout happens when an autistic nervous system has been chronically overextended, often for years or decades. This usually includes long-term masking, constant social adaptation, pushing through environments that are sensory hostile, and living by neurotypical expectations without adequate support. Burnout is physiological and neurological exhaustion. Now let's look at the key features of autistic burnout. It builds gradually, often after long periods of functioning. Rest alone doesn't fully restore capacity. Skills may temporarily regress. Sensory tolerance drops dramatically, and the body feels done, not afraid. The core experience isn't threat, it's depletion. Now let's talk about what CPTSD actually is. Complex PTSD develops from ongoing relational trauma, often where escape wasn't possible. This could include childhood emotional neglect, chronic invalidation, abuse or coercive control, repeated attachment wounds. CPTSD is organized around threat. And the key features of CPTSD include the following: hypervigilance or emotional flashbacks, a nervous system stuck in survival mode, intense shame or self-blame, fear responses that feel sudden or confusing, and strong reactions to relational triggers. The body isn't exhausted, it's braced. Even when things are safe, the nervous system doesn't believe it. Now let's look at where the overlap lives. Here's where people get lost and why self-diagnosis alone can feel impossible. Both conditions include shutdown, avoidance, dissociation, social withdrawal, and difficulty functioning. But they come from different nervous system states. A simplified way to think about it is autistic burnout leads to the person thinking, I can't, whereas CPTSD leads to the person thinking it's not safe. One is about capacity, the other is about danger. And many people, especially late identified autistic adults, have both, which makes things even more complicated. Now here's the distinction that matters most. What happens when demands are removed? Okay, with autistic burnout, removing demands reduces distress, sensory regulation helps, predictability restores some stability, and pressure makes everything worse. With CPTSD, removing demands doesn't necessarily calm the system. The nervous system may still feel unsafe. Silence can even increase anxiety, and the body is scanning for threat, not rest. This is why some trauma-focused therapies fail autistic adults in burnout. They're asked to process emotions they're too depleted to access, stay present when their nervous system needs withdrawal, push through fatigue in the name of healing. Okay, that's not healing, that's further overload. Now, let's talk about how a misdiagnosis can cause harm. When autistic burnout is misdiagnosed as trauma, the person may be pushed into exposure-based therapies, masking may increase, burnout deepens, and shame grows. When CPTSD is misdiagnosed as autism alone, relational trauma may go unaddressed, safety needs are minimized, emotional pain is intellectualized, and the person feels unseen again. So the goal isn't choosing one label, the goal is accurate understanding. Now here's some questions that help clarify. If you're trying to understand your own experience, consider this. Do my reactions feel driven by fear or by exhaustion? When I rest, do I feel relief or agitation? Do my triggers involve sensory overload or relational threat? Did these symptoms intensify after prolonged masking or prolonged harm? And what happens when expectations are reduced? You don't need the perfect answers. You're looking for patterns, not proof. Okay, so now let's look at what healing actually looks like. Here's the hopeful part. When autistic burnout is recognized, the focus shifts to accommodation, masking decreases, energy slowly returns, self-trust rebuilds. When CPTSD is recognized, safety becomes central, boundaries strengthen, emotional responses make sense, and the nervous system learns it's no longer trapped. And when both are present, healing must be slower, more consent-based, more body-aware, and less performance-driven. There's nothing wrong with needing different support. Now, if you've been wondering, why doesn't this approach work for me? Or why do I feel misunderstood even in therapy? It may not be resistance, it may not be avoidance, it may be misidentification. Your nervous system deserves to be understood, not forced into someone else's framework. Now, if this resonated, let me know in the comments. And if you want more conversations at the intersection of autism, trauma, and adult healing, subscribe. You're not alone in this. Would you like to schedule a paid private coaching session? This will be in the form of a face-to-face Zoom call. Underneath any of my videos, you'll see this Calendly link. If you click on that link, it'll open up my calendar. You can pick the available days and times that works for your schedule. You'll get a follow-up email immediately after purchasing a session that will have the Zoom link that coincides with the day and time that you picked. I will get an email too that you scheduled a session, and I will be available on that exact day and time, and we will talk. I look forward to working with you.